It's been a long wait for the drivers in the Ginetta Junior Championship. 7 hours since they were last on circuit here at Silverstone, but at last it's time for their third and final race of the weekend to get underway. The large grid of cars lines up in front of the national pit lane and gets ready for its final 20-minute encounter of what has been a fantastic weekend of racing. The Donington Park season opener, let's be honest, by Ginetta Junior standards was a little bit tame. Lewis Goff dominating really all three races, and it was only really yesterday that he was properly challenged by Harry Bartle, who led portions of that first race but was ultimately beaten by the R-Racing driver. Race 2 of the weekend, though, this morning was a proper classic, with at one point 8 drivers contesting the race victory, and it all boiled down to a drag race to the line, and by 73 thousandths of a second, Harry Bartle became the first person not called Lewis Goff to stand on the top step of a Ginetta Junior podium this year. The sun is still shining, although it's a little more overcast now than it has been for much of the day. Dry conditions, though, perfect conditions for racing, and the perfect circuit, really, for these very slipstream heavy Ginetta G40s to do battle on. It is our 2 race winners so far this year, Harry Bartle and Lewis Goff, who will share the front row of the grid. There's a gap, though, I notice, on the 3rd row where Riley Cranham's number 18 car should be. Riley looks as though he might be a non-starter. Not sure what the issue would be there, but yes, we've got the elite car of Henry Cameron on row 3 and no Riley Cranham, so maybe a pit lane start, maybe a non-start. Not sure what the issue would be there, but everybody else, hopefully, is in position and ready to go racing. The green flag lap then will get underway, led as always by the British GT Lotus safety car. And Harry Bartle, now that he's got that monkey off his back, so to speak, and claimed his first victory in the championship, will be gunning for more. Lewis Goff has proven to be beatable, but only just. He was dicing with Harry Bartle for the lead earlier on this morning, ended up getting elbowed out into the gravel down at Club, did Lewis Goff, dropped to about 7th or 8th position. A lap and a half later, he was back in the lead of the race, and he proved there, as if any further proof was needed after his dominant season opener at Donington, just how rapid he is. Bartle and Goff then make up the front row of the grid. Pace performance versus R-Racing, with the best of the elite cars being Jacob Ashcroft in the McLaren liveried machine in 3rd. He's got Max Murray for company, with Henry Cameron not there 5th on the grid. Riley Cranham then on his own on row number 3. Row 4 for Jesse Phillips, ahead of the best of the MDD motorsport drivers. Addison Smith looking for a strong result here potentially. Got his first top 10 finish earlier on this morning. Josh Watts, one to keep an eye on, charged from the back of the grid to the top 10 earlier on. He's got Melvin Kaluzdian alongside him. Then Jorn Helder and Vladislav Tomanchek on row number 6. Row 7 for Devon Hagelin, the Ginetta scholarship winner over the winter. Bailey Doughty sharing that 7th row with Kai Veach and Andrew Robinson together on row 8. Row 9 for Ethan Brass and Canadian driver Pierce Wade, with Jake Woods and Vicky Farfus for Paradigm Competition sharing row 10. Row 11 for Dominic Darling and Anisu Bafumalo, with Noah Young, another who is likely to charge forward, starting alongside Sebastian Luce. Then it's Oscar Stockley-King and Daniel Oliver, with Samuel Del Gaudio, Henry Carter and Harrison Mackie from the back of the grid. One of a handful of drivers who I would argue are well out of position. Harrison Mackie, remember, tangled with his Elite Motorsport teammate Daniel Oliver in the early stages, lap 1 in fact, down at the Maggotts Beckett's complex in race number 2. They both went off the road, and in the end, Daniel Oliver was given a 5-second penalty in that race for contact, and sorry, he was given a 5-second penalty in race 1, I should say. Then, of course, ended up in the barriers after the contact with his teammate in race number 2. There were some penalties after race number 2. Melvin Kaluzdian, the Red Bull Junior, was given a 5-place grid penalty for contact with Noah Young. Remember, that was also up at the Maggotts Beckett sequence of corners. Noah Young was tapped into a spin and then collected quite heavily by Henry Carter's pace performance machine. And hopefully both of those drivers have got back out there for this one. As I said, the teams have had plenty of time to fix the cars, but there was a lot of damage that needed to be repaired. Some great onboard cameras giving us a bird's eye view, a driver's eye view in some cases, of the racing. Harry Bartle has us covered both front and rear facing cameras in the 73 car, and he'll be hoping we only have to use the rear facing one for this race. He'll be really wanting to keep Lewis Goff and the rest of the pack behind him. That's going to be easier said than done, though. They started in these positions, remember, for race 2 this morning. Bartle on pole, the outside line, with Lewis Goff to his inside, and by the time they reached Copse Corner, Goff was in front. So Lewis will be hoping it's a rinse and repeat of that start this time around. He can get the number 4R racing car out in front and stay there, he hopes, till the flag. We've had 11 Ginetta Junior races on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit since they first raced on this layout back in 2023. That was the closest winning margin at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, 0.073 seconds earlier on this morning. 8 of those 11 races have been decided by less than a second, which gives you an idea of just how competitive the racing tends to be here at Silverstone. And that's not counting the national circuit, which of course for many years played host to the Ginetta Juniors when they were part of the British touring car package. We had some real nail-biters, some proper photo finishes. Could we better that really close finish from this morning? Well, let's find out, shall we? The 5-second board has been raised, the red lights go on, and the final race of the weekend for the Ginetta Junior Championship bursts into life with Harry Bartle and Lewis Goff set to do battle off the front row. Who's got the better of the start this time? It is Bartle. That's much more like it then. Bartle keeps Lewis Goff behind him this time and will lead the field out of Copse Corner and towards Maggots and Beckett's for the first time of asking. Couple of them very wide. That was Noah Young. Confirmation that Noah Young is in the race, but he wasn't really on the race track exiting the first corner. We've got into second position Jacob Ashcroft. Looks of Ashcroft, as we look back from Harry Bartle, has also managed to find a way past Lewis Goff, who finds himself only third as they run through the first few corners. I wouldn't worry yourself too much, though, if you're a Lewis Goff fan, because we know that he's got everything within his power here to get back into contention for the race lead. This is his first opportunity with the slipstream down the hanger straight. Keep an eye on the third place car, keep an eye on the second place car as well. Jacob Ashcroft is going to go for it up the inside of Harry Bartle, late on the brakes into Stowe. That will delay the 2 cars that are debating the lead, especially because they touch at the apex, and yet again the door opens invitingly for Lewis Goff, who sweeps through to the inside line. He's got his teammate Max Murray in tow, and I reckon the championship leader might not get the lead actually into the club chicane. Bartle was very late on the brakes, and Lewis Goff, I think in fairness there, decided to just take a step back and let Bartle go through. There's plenty more opportunities for Lewis to get the lead back again. It was a pretty physical battle between the two of them at times in race 2. I'm intrigued to see whether they pick up where they left off. So far, pretty respectful, it has to be said, on the opening half a lap or so. They are inches apart, though, through the quick right-hander at Abbey, and it's a slightly wide run for Bartle. That gives him a tighter line, though, through the left-hander at Farm, and that means he's not actually under that much pressure into Village. Behind, it's 3 abreast, though. The 2 elite cars there on the outside line, both being overtaken by Max Murray, although Ashcroft comes back to the inside of Murray now, reclaims that 3rd position, and will make sure of that move on corner exit. Murray gives him a shove going through Aintree. Then you've got the 26 car of Jesse Phillips to the outside of, I believe, the number 11 of Henry Cameron, as the pack tries to sort itself out down the back straight. This is Harrison Mackey's view. Remember, he and Daniel Oliver both coming from the back of the grid, and they both should be able to make pretty rapid forward progress, as should Noah Young. All 3 of those drivers starting out of the top 20, but all have top 10, top 5, arguably, pace this weekend. So expect to see them rocketing up the timing sheets as the opening lap completes, with Harry Bartle, well, half a car length, less than that maybe, clear of Lewis Goff. Through the gravel trap goes the number 3 of Jorn Helder in the Project R car. He had a strong starting position in this race, 11th position on the grid, but that hasn't helped his chances of getting into the top 10. Across the line we go then. Bartle leads, Goff second. There's Melvin Clustian to the inside of the number 15 car through Copse Corner. That is Addison Smith for MDD. And Melvin Clustian trying then to move into 7th position, having started 10th, so good progress made by the Red Bull Junior so far. Although he's now found himself mysteriously on the outside at Beckett's and going straight through the runoff area. I think he also tried to get past Josh Watts, or Josh Watts maybe was getting past the pair of them. Either way, Watts comes out of that the best. He clears both of those cars, and Clustian slots right back in behind. Watts then goes on an adventurous line through Chapel. and will rejoin, hopefully having not gained any advantage. On board with Kalustyan, and oh, look at that, Addison Smith just opened the door for him down Hanger Straight. 2 wheels on the grass for Kalustyan. He's getting a shove from one of the Elite Motorsport cars behind, and he is going to get himself back ahead of the 15 car. The Elite car pushing him was Devon Hagelin, the scholarship winner over the winter. And he also, I think, was able to move through, back on board with Kalustyan, hoping to follow in the footsteps of Rocco Coronel, who was in essentially this car last year. The Red Bull Junior now off racing single-seaters in a high level. And Melvin would love to add his name now to the list of our racing winners. Our Racing won their 100th race of in their Ginetta Junior campaign last time out at Donington Park. Through Abbey Corn we go. There's Jon Helder to the inside of the number 9. That is Bailey Doughty, who's hunting for his first top 10 finish of the season. Max Murray, late defensive move there to cover off Jacob Ashcroft, and in fact his teammate Jesse Phillips runs very wide in front of them. I think that maybe knocked Max Murray off his line slightly, because he ends up opening the door for Ashcroft, and maybe round the outside to Henry Cameron, who's got 2 wheels in the dirt in the yellow and black Elite Motorsport car. And he should now have the momentum, aided by the slipstream from the cars ahead, to pull fully alongside. They bang into each other down the Wellington Straight, once, maybe twice under the bridge, and still the move is not made, in fairness. Cameron will have to be very late on the brakes to get round the outside of Murray through Brooklands to get the inside line for Luffield. That's exactly what he's done, and Murray now needs to close the door against his teammate Melvin Kalustyan, who's fishing around on the inside line, finds a gap, commits to it, bang into the side of his teammate, nuzzles alongside him, and I think a return of serve there maybe on the exit of the corner as they touched again, but Kalustyan goes through. So Max Murray getting elbowed aside a little bit there. That is how it goes in Ginetta Junior racing, though. Once one car opens the door, there are 2 or 3 others itching to fill that gap, and more than willing to trade a bit of paint in doing so. The leaders, by the way, Bartle and Goff, themselves separated by only just over 1/10 of a second, are 4.5 seconds clear of anybody else. So Lewis Goff is sensibly, I think, working with Harry Bartle here so that he doesn't have a repeat of what happened in race 2. Remember, when he and Bartle started trading the lead earlier on this morning, everyone else got involved and it became an absolute dogfight for the race victory. Goff would much prefer a slightly calmer 3rd race of the weekend, and he's going the right way about it right now, working with the race leader to pull. Look at the gap that they've got now over Jesse Phillips. As I said, getting on for 5 seconds. Phillips in 3rd position, in fairness, also having a bit of assistance from Ashcroft down the Hanger Straight as they try and stop the leaders getting too far away. Kalustyan nips to the inside of Henry Cameron. And that will be 5th position for Melvin, who is steadily marching forward from 10th on the grid, 5 places gained. And Melvin Kalustyan, who is, has got 1 podium finish under his belt, a 3rd place finish in this equivalent race at Donington Park, looking maybe to try and get back onto the podium for a 2nd time this year. Max Murray, meanwhile, struggling to recover, seemingly, from losing those places on the previous lap. Now under threat from Josh Watts, who started in a much more favourable grid position for this 3rd race and is demonstrating the pace that we've seen from him all season long, but not necessarily had the results he will feel he deserves. There is the number 12 of Daniel Oliver, another coming from the back of the grid. He goes way wide through Abbey Corner, takes with him there not Devon Hagelin, not sure who that was going wide with him, Bailey Doughty or Andrew Robinson maybe. It's 3 abreast meanwhile in this top 5 scrum, and Josh Watts has got himself ahead of Max Murray now. So Max Murray, not only has he lost touch with the cars ahead, but he's losing more places. To his outside comes Addison Smith, and he's going to get the run now down the Wellington Straight. And there are plenty more where he came from. Look at this long line of Ginetta Juniors, and Max Murray is in danger of being swallowed by them all. You can see the braking zone at Brooklands, the car fishtailing around. Look at the white gloves. I love it when drivers wear white gloves. You can really see their hands at work on the wheel. And Max Murray is soaring away at the steering wheel as he tries desperately to regain some composure here. But through is going to go Smith. There are more coming behind. Tomanchuk is there, so is Helder. The number 8 car is Hagelin as well. And so they all keep lining up behind Max Murray, who just can't catch a break in this race. Down through Copse Corner they go. The leaders more or less matched that time by the 3rd placed car, Jesse Phillips. Murray, meanwhile, trying now to undo some of the damage that's been done over the last lap or so by getting back alongside Addison Smith, heading down into Maggots and Beckett. Clears the 15 car before the corner. Tomanchuk tries to go with him. There's contact. Smith is sideways. Can he save it? No. Gets spat out of the pack. And Smith is in the gravel trap. That's a real shame. He was having a really good showing in this one, but Addison Smith's MDD Motorsport car is beached in the gravel, and I fear going no further. Is that far enough from the racetrack that we don't need a safety car? That's my first question. It's a long lap, of course, here, so the marshals have a couple of minutes maybe to try and extricate him without the need of a recovery vehicle. We'll see what race control decides to do. This, the battle for third position then, and Jesse Phillips at the front of this queue. Jacob Ashcroft ahead of us. We're on board with Melvin Cluesdian, who's having one of his best showings of the season so far. Goes to the outside of Ashcroft now. Red Bull versus McLaren at Silverstone. We've seen that before, haven't we? And it's Cluesdian who might gain not only one but two places out of this. He's certainly going to get to the inside of Ashcroft, but was having a nibble there at the rear bumper of his teammate Jesse Phillips' car. Still, they run side by side. Two are racing cars against two elite motorsport drivers. Two drivers in this group who are backed by Formula One teams and being tipped very much as stars of the future. The pressure on these young drivers' shoulders is absolutely incredible, isn't it? And the way they're able to manage that pressure, knowing that there are so many eyes on them and so many people watching and judging their performance. And they have to deliver every time they're out on circuit. Great to see them both in contention here for a podium finish. But just under half the race still to go. A long way before we settle this one. There is Addison Smith trudging away from his car, and the safety car is therefore required. So no way of getting that car back into the race under its own power. And so we need to neutralise things. And of course, who does this not benefit? Harry Bartle and Lewis Goff, because they built up nearly a 5-second cushion over the rest of the pack. That will now evaporate, and I'm certain that on the restart, the likes of Phillips and Cluesdian and Ashcroft, they're going to be desperate not to allow that same situation to play out again, and make sure that the leaders don't build too much of a margin. On board here with Harrison Mackie, I think we're about to see some shenanigans down at the club chicane. The three abreast in front of us, that's not likely to work, and around goes his teammate Daniel Oliver, with whom he tangled, of course, in the race earlier on. That time, thankfully, they avoided each other, but Daniel Oliver, who was the aggressor, really, up the inside. Not often that you see the car on the inside of that situation rotating, but that's exactly what happened, and around he went. So, Lewis Goff looks in his rearview mirror, and for once is not happy to see three of his teammates lining up behind him. Phillips, Cluesdian and Ashcroft making that 4R racing cars. Sorry, Phillips and Cluesdian, I should say. 4R racing cars in the 3R racing cars in the top four. I'll get this right in a moment. With Goff, Phillips and Cluesdian nose to tail. Then the elite car of Ashcroft, with Cameron Watts, Max Murray, Vladislav Tomanchuk and Noah Young completing the top 10. So everyone now gets a chance to catch their breath. Melvin Cluesdian's going to be rubbing his hands together here, isn't he? Because I was saying a moment or two ago, a second podium finish of the year could be on. Well, the pace he's got in this race, who knows? He could win it yet. With everyone bunched back together. Here's a replay of what happened. So outside line there for Addison Smith. It was the 67 car of Vladislav Tomanchuk who was trying to come through on the inside line. There just wasn't room at the in, was there? Ultimately, he was up the curb, sideways, got sideways again then through Chapel. Here's another angle of it. There is an overlap into Beckett's, but it's such a difficult corner to run side by side through. And Addison Smith very nearly caught that, but the track continued to go left, and his car ended up heading right into the gravel. No damage done, but that will be very little solace for the youngster and indeed the MDD Motorsport team, who I think I'm right in saying are only fielding one car in Ginetta Juniors this year. Indeed, that is the case. We've seen the MDD squad represented across other Ginetta categories in the past. Scott and Ben McKenna, who themselves have great racing pedigree within the Ginetta ranks, the team principals, who claimed the Pro Class champion in the Ginetta GT Championship last year, of course. But this time around, just the one car entered into juniors. Maybe more coming later on in the season. I'm sure lots of youngsters eyeing up the move into circuit racing, perhaps from karting. And there are age limits you have to abide by, and so that means sometimes, depending on when drivers' birthdays fall, we do see drivers joining in partway through the season, particularly the back end of the year, with a mind towards the season after. That's exactly what we saw, of course, from Harry Bartle and Lewis Goff last year. They dipped in towards the end of the season. Both showed impressive pace, and therefore came into the 2026 campaign as firm favourites, and they have been the pace setters. Certainly they're the top two in the championship for what it's worth at this very early stage. Lewis Goff has a 29-point lead over Harry Bartle, but we've yet to get into any of those complicated drop scores, which we won't worry about until the second half of the year. 6 minutes left on the clock then in round number 6 of the Ginetta Junior Championship, powered by Sunoco Race Fuels. The lights are out on the safety car, and Harry Bartle now has to try and build a gap over Lewis Goff. That's proven impossible to do, seemingly, this weekend. No one has been able to break away at the front of the field, at least not by themselves. These two did work together in the first part of the race to build a margin. Can they do the same now over the final few laps, or will the pack behind start to interfere? I was going to say almost pushing each other. There is contact actually as they come through Brooklands. Harry Bartle leaving it quite late to accelerate. Now steps on the loud pedal, takes a wide line through Luffield Corner to set himself up for a good exit and hopefully not be under any threat by the time they reach Copse Corner. We know how powerful the toe is though, and I'm fairly certain Lewis Goff is going to be with him. What does Lewis Goff do though? Does he go immediately on the attack, or does he wait? Does he try and just keep the rest of the cars at arm's length behind him? We'll find out soon enough. Here he comes to the inside line. There's your answer. He wants the lead back. He gets to the inside, but watch for the third place car of Jesse Phillips, because as these two trip over each other, those behind will get a lot of momentum down towards Maggots and Beckett's, and it's going to turn into a race, I think, quite similar to the one we had earlier on this morning. Side by side for the lead into Beckett's corner. Bartle hanging it out around the outside. That's incredibly brave. We saw how that can go wrong earlier on. It goes very much right for Bartle. He gets his nose ahead, but he's on the wrong side of the road through Chapel, and Lewis Goff has the assistance look of his teammate Jesse Phillips. This is where R Racing have the advantage, the strength in numbers, because Phillips and Kaluzdian are going to go with Lewis Goff. They're going to leave Harry Bartle hung out to dry. We're on board with Melvin Kaluzdian as we head down towards Stowe Corner. We've already cleared Bartle, and I suspect others will be coming too. No, Bartle chops across in front of Jacob Ashcroft. Just like that though, R Racing hold all of the podium places, and in some ways they hold all of the cards, don't they? They have the strength in numbers. They've got drivers who are able to work together for now. Of course, as soon as they get into the closing stages of the race, it becomes all-out warfare again. But right now, they are able to push Bartle down to 4th position, and Harry's got no help up there at all, has he? So how is this going to pan out? He's got 2 Elite Motorsport drivers behind him now in Ashcroft and Cameron. Then it's Josh Watts and Max Murray, and a bit of a gap back to the next group, led by Noah Young. A bit of jostling going on into the first corner. That was the number 3 of Johan Helder, trying to defend from Harrison Mackie. Now, he, of course, has also benefited from the safety car. Harrison Mackie from, where did he start? Well, 29th, 28th, let's say, with one car not taking the start. 28th and last on the grid. He's up into 13th place already, and very much on the tail of the lead pack. So, round the loop we go. Goff then to the lead, but not getting away as of yet. He's got a couple of car lengths advantage, but in Ginetta Junior terms, that's not really enough, is it? Bartle looks shoving Kaluzdian down the Wellington Straight. If he can't beat them, join him, I suppose. He's going to become an honorary 4th R Racing driver in this battle for now. If it keeps him in touch with the leaders, he's just got to hope that those 3 ahead start really duking it out in the closing stages. We're about to start what will be the final lap of the race. Yes, we're lapping just under the 2-minute 40 mark. There is less time than that left on the clock, so it's a 1-lap shootout now for victory in round 6 of the Ginetta Junior Championship, powered by Sunoco Race Fuels. 3 R Racing cars lock out the podium places at the moment. Is that how it's going to remain until the checkered flag, I wonder? Through Copse, inches between front and rear bumper across all of that leading trio. Kaluzdian, I think, who got the best run through the corner, had to lift off the throttle slightly on corner exit. Robs him of a little bit of momentum, but he'll be right back with them again by the time we reach the Hanger Straight, where I suspect the first move will be made. Who by, I don't know, but someone in this group, I'm certain, will pull out of line down the next straight. And I sort of have my money on Melvin Kaluzdian, because he looks the raciest of the 3 R Racing cars. He closes right in behind Jesse Phillips. And we ride on board with the Red Bull Junior. Watch as the slipstream brings them together. Of course, they've all got a toe on Lewis Goff, who is pushing a hole in the air for the cars behind. Phillips didn't really want to pull out of line, had to defend from Kaluzdian, who commits to the move on the inside line. Melvin Kaluzdian for second place. Then he's going to usher his teammate wide, and Harry Bartle might move from fourth to second here. He has. Fantastic stuff from Harry Bartle. He's into P2. He covers off the inside line through the veil and prevents Jesse Phillips from coming back at him, at least on the inside. Phillips says, OK, I'll go the long way round if that's how you're going to play it. No way through there, though. And critically, Goff didn't really build up a margin in all of that. I thought maybe he'd come out of the club complex with a bigger lead than this. Harry Bartle is well within slipstreaming range. Remember the move that Harry made down the Wellington Straight in race 2 to win. He went from the extreme outside of the road to the extreme inside, a desperate late-breaking lunge. Can he do the same again now to claim a second victory of the weekend? On board, meanwhile, with Kaluzdian, who's now left fighting for what would be a second, third place finish of the year, if he can get past his teammate Jesse Phillips, which he can't into the loop. Jesse will hold the inside line into the left-hander. And so Kaluzdian goes wide, opening the door invitingly for Jacob Ashcroft. Look to move through into fourth position. Those two are going to be side by side down the Wellington Straight. The lead battle, though, is where we need to be looking. Is Bartle going to get there? I'm not convinced he is, actually. Maybe a length or so too far back. Bit of elbowing there between Kaluzdian and Ashcroft underneath the bridge as we approach the braking zone at Brooklands. Bartle isn't going to be quite close enough, I don't think, not into this braking zone. So if he's going to beat Lewis Goff, it will be a drag race to the line. That will take some doing, I think, though. Lewis Goff has played this very nicely indeed with the assistance of his teammates just after the safety car restart. He got to the front and he's managed to fend off Harry Bartle, I reckon, to claim another race victory. 6 races down, 5 race victories for Lewis Goff, who extends his championship lead with victory in race number 3 at Silverstone. Bartle comes home in second position, and it will be Jesse Phillips in third, Jacob Ashcroft fourth, Melvin Kaluzdian fifth, and sixth position then for the 11 of Henry Cameron. The rest of them streak through as the checkered flag flies. Wasn't confusingly showing on the timing screen, but it was definitely a checkered flag. Race is over. And Lewis Goff knows it. He knows he's won. And he is absolutely delighted with that. It's interesting. I conducted the podium presentation earlier on today for the second race. The first time, of course, that Lewis hadn't won. And a lot of drivers will be satisfied with second place and good championship points, you know. Not bad for a worst finish of the season, but you could tell it was written all over his face that he wasn't happy and he wanted to get back to winning ways. He has done so, and in emphatic style. Another race, of course, decided by only a length or so, as is the Silverstone way. Bartle gets the fastest lap, though, so Harry Bartle at least has that honour to take from that race. He's also the best of the non-rookies, the junior class, as it's slightly confusingly called. Pace Performance are here to try and take the fight to R Racing and Elite Motorsport. Between them, R Racing and Elite have won the last 9 championships in Ginetta Juniors. Will Tregurtha for HHC was the last driver not for one of those teams to win the title. Can Harry Bartle now become the one to break their winning streak? Lewis Goff, though, gets back to winning ways. A 5th win of the season here at Silverstone, ahead of Harry Bartle and Jesse Phillips, with Jacob Ashcroft just missing out on the podium in 4th, ahead of Melvin Kaluzdian and Henry Cameron. Max Murray was next, then it was Josh Watts, Noah Young and Devon Hageland to complete the top 10. Vladislav Tomanchuk was 11th, ahead of Harrison Mackie. Good drive that from the back of the grid. Kai Veach, Henry Carter and Jorn Helder were next, ahead of Sebastian Lusch, Dominic Darling, Bailey Doughty, Andrew Robinson and Ethan Brass to complete the top 20. Then it was Pierce Wade and Vicky Farfus, with Daniel Oliver only 23rd after that spin down at club when he had been making progress. Oscar Stockley King was next, ahead of Jake Woods, Aniso Mafumalo, Samuel Del Gordio. Riley Cranham was a lap down but still running. Addison Smith, of course, out in the gravel down at Beckett's, and that brought about the race's only safety car. The third and final race of the weekend for the Ginetta Junior Championship at Silverstone saw a resumption of the battle between race 1 winner Lewis Goff and race 2 winner Harry Bartle, with Harry Bartle this time converting pole position to the lead through Copse Corner, unlike what happened in race 2 earlier on today. Lewis then decided to tuck in behind Bartle, work with him to get away from the pack, and the pair pulled nearly a 5-second lead over everybody else in the first half of the race, whilst the battles behind were as spirited as ever. Melvin Kaluzdian was making good progress, and whether it was a teammate or not, he was leaving nothing to chance in his moves. Executed well to come from 10th on the grid to be inside the top 5 by half race distance. Clusian was moving forward, Max Murray was moving backwards and just about got embroiled in this battle, which boiled over at Beckett with Addison Smith tapped into a spin by Vladislav Tomanchuk, and Smith's car was beached in the gravel. That led to a safety car. There'd also been dramas for Daniel Oliver, who had his second spin of the day, this time down at Club Corner. Upon the restart, Lewis Goff wasted no time. It was a two-lap shootout and he wanted to lead those final 2 laps. Got to the inside of Bartle at Copse Corner, knowing all of the time that he had 2 teammates in his tow, Jesse Phillips and Melvin Clusian. They dutifully pushed Lewis Goff to the lead, and then the 3 started battling for victory themselves. On the last lap, Clusian went to second down at Stowe, ran himself and Jesse Phillips wide, and Harry Bartle pounced to move through into second position. He couldn't catch Lewis Goff, though, who claimed his 5th race victory from the first 6 races of the season.
Congratulations, and let's grab a quick word with Jesse Phillips, who finished in 3rd position. Congratulations, Jesse. Good progress made this weekend. 5th, 8th, and now 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, we can't be too disappointed with that. First 3 races we struggled quite a bit from my side. Made a few decisions that probably weren't the best to make, but I think in that last race we sorted most of it out. But yeah, obviously we had a chance of going for the win then, which 3rd's still not bad, and I'm confident going into Oxford Park.
You look where you are in the season, we're only 6 races in, but you're in hat-trick podiums.
Yeah, probably haven't had any wins.
I know you haven't, but the wins will come.
Yeah, I hope so.
What do you think you can do on